I have the extraordinary pleasure to introduce to you Gary Hoberman. I mentioned his company Unqork earlier. And I love Gary so much that I've given him a special dispensation, which I am always fraught to do, which is to allow him to swap out his laptop. Just wait, it's going to be a problem. But here's why. He's going to do a super cool demo. He had a whole bunch of slides with IT diagrams and, you know, the server icons and things like that with lines, and he was going to show you some statistical regressions. And he said, why don't I just do a demo? I said, great. Do a demo. It was his idea. You're going to see software created real time right here on this floor. Gary Hoberman.
Okay. First test, does it actually turn on? So this was, let's see if that works. I'll come around while that. So after last night, first the AI conversation and then Williams playing, I realized I couldn't sit here in front of you and show slides. There's no way. So I want to be Willy Wonka, actually. That's one of my favorite movies. And when you think about, like, I always view technology as magical. I grew up in the 5th grade on my dad's punch card machines and his business. And throughout my life, I was communicating with machines. And I left that world where I had 10,000 employees working for me in 47 countries and $2 billion a year, and Satya is flying me here and Sundar's here, and every single day I'm employed, it's getting worse for the next person. So I joined Citigroup. I was one of the youngest MDs. I joined MetLife, Fortune 50 company, and I had 80% of my budget was spent keeping the lights on. Everything I blamed the person before me. That was called legacy. And I was doing the new stuff. We were in Fortune magazine and Forbes, and that's how I got to meet Rob, was speaking in Napa and Carnegie Hall. And the reality was everything new I was doing was making the company worse for the next person to come. And so I jumped out of the C-suite corporate jet, I like to say, to Zone 5 United, no carry-on, sit in the bathroom. That's kind of where it was. And created Unqork in 2017 to be told by 300 investors who used to wine and dine me, hell no, you're too old. There's no way this will work. And wound up self-funding the company back in 2017. It's been a fun journey since. I'm going to start with the problem statement first, which is why would I do that? So first off, for those who code or have done 1 hour of coding or have created an Excel macro, like, I'm going to make each of you today a CEO of a dating company app. So after you leave here, you're creating a brand new dating app, you know, whatever it might be. And I'm doing this because dating's fun and we could have some fun with this. I'll bring some real business concepts in as we do this. But if each of you built your own dating app company today with your own methodology using AI, and one's using Gemini and ChatGPT and whatever we're doing here, the reality of the day that I had seen was we would have 100 applications. Each of you, once you launched it and went through that horrendous journey of, like, getting to the finish line is going live, pen test, hire hackers for 3 weeks, vulnerability assessments, performance tests, load tests, COB testing, DR testing. Is it integrated? Oh, by the way, we chose a technology which is now end of life. Great, the word EOL comes in, technical debt. Wall Street Journal last month wrote a report, the first number I've seen, that said technical debt, which means the things we've created in the past, is costing the US $2.5 trillion a year in operational and security issues, and will cost $1.5 trillion to fix it. That's what's ahead of us. But anyone who's running tech today is just creating more of it. That's where I was. So I'm going to stop there. I can't sit here and show slides because I'm trying to convince you in the next 15 minutes everything you've been doing to this point, if you're in technology, is wrong. And if you're running a team, you have to change it. And I'm basically trying to convince you that there's no shortage of engineers. There's too many. And we just have to look at the world of software very differently. And it's a different view of the world. So with that, I'm going to jump in. Let's see if this works. There we go. So, you know, live demos always blow up, as you know. So there's no question here. So I'm going to expect that. We've got a joke. Bob's got a joke ready in the back if we have issues. But we'll go ahead and let's just go through this. So real quick, you should see Unqork come up. And I'm going to hit on a lot of different topics. So what I'm going to do today is a live build. There's no videos, there's no demos. I've got no one in the back doing this for me. And the goal was, if I could actually build software, then you can. And that's kind of the pitch. And typically when we sit with a client in the first meeting, we would say, what do you want to build? What haven't you gotten yet? What's the problems you've seen? And we just build it with them on the fly. That's how we've won every client. The most fun one I was sharing last night was NYPD commissioner right before COVID. We said, what do you want to build? And she's like, evidence collection system. Great, let's build it. Let's have fun. What does it mean? And we're literally building the entire system with blood, knives, kilograms of cocaine, quality of cocaine, marijuana. And she looks at us and she goes, if this works, I waited 2 years to see what the team's been working on. If this works, I will kill you. Because, and they signed one of our largest contracts immediately after that meeting. And when COVID happened, we got a call from her saying, COVID's coming to New York City. You don't know it yet. We have 2 days to build the contact tracing system for 20 million tri-state residents. And we built it over the weekend. We were the system for Chicago, for DC, for New York City, for Illinois. It helped us win the government as well after that. But real quick, we're going to build a data gap. So it's a little fun. I'm going to do it straight from scratch. So I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to come in. I'm going to basically say, anyone want to name the app for us? App dating, we'll put.
Oh, Gary's app dating. Oh.
Okay, so it's going to be a workflow, multi-steps. And the things that you never need to worry about in our world is anything to do with data, versioning, rollbacks, all the things that make IT complicated. It's done for you. When I click create, so this application we're creating at this moment is as secure as a Goldman Sachs trading system. We're running their customer data. We're running it for JP Morgan. At this point, there's nothing else to think about other than, well, what do you want to build? Everything else is gone in the picture. It's removed. So I'm going to jump in, and it's going to look pretty intuitive. I'm going to say, okay, who's the first user? It's going to be like our dating, let's just say profile. So we need to basically, that's the person. I'm going to say person. And we've got roles, and we could go through. And you basically start to think through who are the personas and roles within this place. So it might be a person that passes it off to a potential spouse, let's just call it. We'll go really far here. And don't mind my typing. And I simply just, it's in Portuguese, that's it. So we do support every language, we had to. And so real quick, like in New York City, we delivered 2 million food orders to senior citizens through Unqork. And if I only charged by food order app, we would be billions and billions, but we did what was right for the city. Basically, I'm gonna say there's a few steps. So step one, tell me who you are. Who are you? And my typing cannot be worse, and we're going to do this straight from scratch. There's nothing. And step two, maybe it's a little bit about your profile position. And we'll create that. And when I click save, it's just going to guide me through and help me through some steps. And I'm going to come into who are you. So what's something you would collect on a consumer? Photo. So let's just say photo. So I'm going to look for a file component. So this replaces every software out there from file storage. So I'm going to call it photo. And I'm going to basically say, you know what, display the actual thumbnail photo. What's the width? How many heights? What could it be? And just click save and we're done. That's there. So you might want how about a name? Like a text, let's just say it's a text box. I'm going to show you just from scratch. And maybe it's first name. And everything's pre-built because what I didn't say is, this is the first time where every single customer before I started using this gave us all the input. They've tested it, security test, functional test. The code I'm working on here is not going to break. There's no fear of that for the first time. So people have said you need tooltip, you need helper text, placeholder text, you need input masks, you need to basically say it's required. They're switches. There's no more code. There's no more writing JavaScript and logic. It's all simply switches. Is it required? What's the minimum characters, maximum characters? Who has permissions to see it? Who should not see it? Where should it be obfuscated and scrambled? All built in. So I'm going to stop there for a second. But in general, we start to see patterns. So what we basically do is we create reusable functions like you would do. And we say, you know what? Just take a picture of your driver's license, and we'll use some AI to pull out your information from there. That's it. And you know what? That's interesting. Maybe I'm going to also just get back your credit score. So let's do that too. So before we actually start. Yeah, that's. So when I click preview, you could access this right now on your phone. Anyone in the world could actually access this. It's more secure than any system you've ever interacted with before in your life. So you will trust to store data, and it will look and change appearance with one click of a button. It will look like Goldman Sachs, look like JP Morgan, look like CVS Aetna for claims, which is where we are. So I could basically upload a picture of my photo. I could upload a picture of my driver's license. I'm going to pretend to be this California person here, click submit. I could basically get the information back. AI will pull it back. I could enter in my social security number. I could get back my FICA score from the credit agencies, and we're done. So I'm starting a process. But you know what? This next step would be really interesting. So that's interesting. You know what we need to do in the next step? Let's go through, and maybe I need to basically pull in some more financial information. Maybe I need your medical profile. So we're HIPAA compliant, we're running in hospitals, so let's pull in your medical information. Maybe I need to basically pull in your, let's see, where do you work? So you know what, we store in, your company uses Salesforce or Dynamics or any CRM, so let's just pull in whatever CRM they use and we'll pull up the information from there. This is Salesforce. And let's actually, at the same time, make sure that's not on the terrorist database of the US government. So, I mean, you're building in steps, and the thing is, it's not just deployed, but at this point, like, I'm still here. I just click next. There's no more deployment. This is already working, and I'm now here, and I'm going to go through, yes, I have a medical condition, add it. It's pretty intelligent. I could say it's, you know, foot, and it's going to do some search, and basically come back with, now, based on that, here's what we need to know from you. Symptoms, what doctors you see, et cetera. All. So we're running Maimonides medical centers, patient registration, emergency system, connecting to all their patients with their record in the front door. So I'll cancel that for a second. We'll come down here. I could look up an account from Salesforce. It should just take a second to come back up, and I might have not done that right. Could be. But we could look up like if I look up Unqork, it's going to basically do an OFAC check and come back. Probably did something wrong there. I'll come back. Now, what's really interesting is this is pretty easy, but let's make it even easier. So if you can, just describe something you would want to ask that's unusual, like ice cream flavor. Like maybe this dating app is for people who like dogs. What, make up something. Anything. It's a dating app for people that like fill in the blank. Mad Libs, let's play. Yes. Genie, how do I spell that? Can we do astrology? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to just type. We are building a dating app for people that like astrology.
Great.
And can I spell genealogy? I'm going to try, but ology, hopefully it fixes it. And I'm just going to add in, and also make sure they like dogs and which type, which breed. And I'm just going to instruct it, show choices as drop downs. And if I could basically say, run this through OpenAI, run it through Gemini. This is an Unqork app that just took 5 minutes to build this app, which then will build Unqork apps. So last year we passed the Turing test. Unqork rebuilt Unqork. We eliminated about 1 million lines of code that we wrote over 7 years with Unqork itself.
Gary, can you explain that again? Unqork rebuilt Unqork?
Yes. So we coded the interfaces you see here originally with code, with JavaScript, with Angular, with React, with Java, .NET. We then stopped and said, we believe Unqork's engine is on par now with every language we've invented to speak to machines. So let's port that over to our own language. Our language is not a language, it's data. So we basically DNA sequence software top to bottom into data. I'm going to show you what that data looks like here. I described it. This is what data looks like to us. If you could read it, there's a username field, it's text box. If I come down here, we could probably see it actually created an astrology sign. And you'll see the choices here. That data specification we open sourced last year and said it's for the world. Figma should be generating that data specification. We're working with partners right now who are successful in taking the entire mainframe, COBOL assembler, and moving it into that data specification and shutting down mainframe. So,
shutting down the mainframe.
Shutting down mainframe. We believe it's already, so Amazon and Google are our two biggest partners there. We are hosted in Amazon, Google, Microsoft already today. Microsoft's our largest competitor. I like to say that yesterday. So we punch up hard, but we can't punch hard enough. But we basically view the world that we could take. So and that's all AI, by the way. So this whole operation here was Gen AI in action using, in this case, and I could basically come here and say, this is interesting. Let me copy that. Let me come back to our app we built. And all I need to do is basically paste it. So done, save it. And now this is already working, where now if you're on your phone and you clicked, just say previous, click next, like you're going to see it's actually astrology sign. Are you interested in genealogy? Yes or no? Are you a dog lover? What's your favorite dog breed? And even the address field is actually searchable. So there we go. So you could start to create anything you dream up. So I'm going to stop for a second. I was confident that would work because there's only one code base for the first time in history. So cloud computing did amazing. They said, we have the infrastructure. We've abstracted away all the hardware. Don't worry about the compute. And I remember when my apps would go down, the trading systems would go down, and I would pray the motherboard was in stock. Right? Cloud computing erased it and said, don't worry anymore. We've got it. We've got a fleet. We operate on a fleet. We did it at the application level all the way to the glass of the individual. So in our world, we're the enterprise app cloud. And so this is where all your applications in the future will run. Now, what Rob said, and I love in the book, is we're democratizing technology. Like everyone here could do what I just did and learn it probably in an hour or two. So with that said, just last thing I'll show you is just some examples. So we don't exist in the world, as I said. What that means to us is, like, this is an example of basically this is an asset manager. So we have 7 of the top 10 asset managers on Unqork today. Critical processing, like you would basically build this entire system within a few minutes. And we have kits that jumpstart you, including everything from your dashboard for relationships and wealth management and where your operations. If I want to be a client or front office, what role do I want to play within this company and how it looks? This is exciting. I self-funded this. I'm still the only investor. We'll be doing raise soon. We basically built an Unqork, a company that ends all food allergies globally. I mean, literally every food allergy from gluten to dairy to nuts, which is what my kids had. Like this startup actually, and the whole concept here is democratizing healthcare. So Amazon, imagine a doctor who I went to who solved my son and cured my son's nut allergy in 8 months. Imagine I went to him, I said, why is not the world doing this? And he doesn't have the scale or the infrastructure, so we funded it. And now he has his own business here, which he basically could be a billionaire startup CEO without any issue. Imagine we did that with cancer or with any other, diabetes, what that would mean. Aerodye is another company which I funded. It's all built on Unqork. Both of these, so what's really interesting about these two is I created an incubator outside of Unqork with the simple concept. They always said Unqork was a rocket ship. We hit 2 billion valuation in 3 years. We had 700 employees in 4 years. So we basically were on this. What I realized is it's the wrong terminology. I watched my 11-year-old son build carbon fiber rockets and launch them, and the lighter they are, the further they fly. So I built an incubator with the premise of reverse Y Combinator. CEO, no other employee in the entire company. You don't need an engineer, you don't need a technology team, you don't need hosting, you don't need legal, all gone. And we've actually now launched 2 companies using that approach. Just New York City, if anyone got married in New York City, we have been the books and records for since COVID started. We've done 38,000 marriages a year on average. The entire books and records we replaced. So we're generating the certificate, we're storing your proof of residence. Nowhere does it say Unqork. And then when you think about just what it means for customers, so I'll stop there. Concept is scale. Concept is, reason why I left corporate world was every single application built in Unqork makes everyone else's applications more secure, cheaper, more scalable, more reliable. It's the exact opposite of everything happening in technology today.